What's up YouTube? It's Alexis Giovanni here and welcome to my channel. I've got another guide for you today for Animal Crossing, and this time we're covering off the stages of flowers through their growth and just another tip on how to manage your flowers, especially when it comes to testing. Whenever you buy flowers, particularly from Nook's Cranny or Leaf, they come in these bags, and when you plant them they come out as sprouts. The next Animal Crossing day, once one day passes, they grow into what's known as stems, and you can see the distinct difference between the stems and the sprouts. The day after that, they'll turn into what's known as a bud or buds. And finally, the fourth and final day, they'll turn into a plant where you can see the petals in full bloom and they look absolutely brilliant. Generally we focus on the growth of the plant moving forward. You can take some steps backwards though, so I'm just going to plant a couple of plants here just to show you a couple of scenarios that do crop up with this game. One is, sometimes you invite some people around and they go a bit crazy and they do this to your flowers. Hands up or comment if you've seen this before. How frustrating is that? The good news is it does only set you back one day. Occasionally, someone does this to your flowers. Either accidentally plucks them or does it on purpose. It's a little embarrassing, but when they do that, that takes you back 2 stages. So it takes your plants from plants back to stems. So that's 2 days regression. What about watering? Does it make sense to water flowers when they're either stems or sprouts? The news is, there's no point. They don't grow. They will just grow naturally. There's no way they're going to breed flowers. Whereas if they're buds or plants, these are mature enough to actually create offspring. And that's the sweet spot. That's where you want to be when it comes to watering your flowers. Don't bother when it's the other two. Here's a little trick I use when I don't want flowers to actually breed, is to pluck them. So as I showed before, when you do pluck the flowers, it takes you from stage 4 back to stage 2. So these will not actually breed anything. So if you'd like to force other flowers to grow, you can use this technique. I'm going to show you now what I do when it comes to tracking flowers created out of pairings. So in this case I have a purple and a yellow rose, both of which have created a white rose. So to track its growth, I mark a little white spot on the ground so I can remember whether it's the day after or the day after that, because you don't always get flowers, that it was a white rose. In this case I've got a red and a yellow tulip, which grew a red tulip, so I'll mark it down with a red spot. You can create as many of these as you like with whatever colorway that makes sense to your growing patterns. In this case, the yellow and red tulip in this case created a yellow, so I'll just mark that down with a yellow. Let's move over to the purple now. So I have got 2 purple mums, both of which created a little baby purple mum. So I've already pre-marked that down with a purple spot. So hopefully that makes sense for a growth for one particular day. Let's look at a more complicated case where you've got a number of days over time. In this case, this pair of yellow mums, on the first day they spawned, they created a purple. The second time they created a baby was a white. And finally, the third and final day they created a red. For this pair of yellow mums, on the first day they created a white. And the second time they created a flower was a green. And the third and final time they created this pink that you see there. I'd love to know if you use a similar technique yourself, so comment below. We've head over to the island of Chelsea now, and we've got Giovanni who's going to show us how you can potentially create these spots for yourself. So in this case I've got a few of these channels which I've created, which is testing some of the pansies, some of the hyacinths and some of the roses, just to show you the versatility of this. And if you haven't yet created your purple pansies or your purple hyacinth, check the linked video above. Let's learn how to create these spots. So what you do is you launch the Custom Designs editor, and let's create one from scratch. So this is an empty canvas. Once you have the canvas ready to go, you switch the color over to the clear, which is the one at the very right there. And I tend to change the tool to be the circle tool, or in this case the stamp actually, and I make it to the biggest spot possible, and I just comb over the whole lot and make that as clear. You can see it's sort of clearing off the canvas. And once you have that canvas completely clear, still using that same stamp tool, I switch over to another color, which in this case is black, and just stamp a outline so that that becomes the backdrop for the actual color that you want. Then you switch to the medium size stamp tool, change to the color that you want, and stamp that color, and that's it. Now you just have to come up with a really creative name. So let's think of what we could. I think white probably makes sense. So let's just call it white. You can call it whatever you like. And don't forget, you can create as many of these as you like. I'm guilty of having one of every single flower color. And I'll show you now what you do when it comes to putting this on the ground. If you don't have terraforming yet, you can do it the manual way, which is just one spot at a time. And you just use the display on ground option. And the best thing about this is that once you've used that spot and you don't want it anymore, you can just kick it off and start again. So whether you're testing flowers or just keeping track of which growth you get, it's an awesome way to keep track of what flowers you do get over time. And before we do finish up, I'll show you what you can do when you do have terraforming and you've played the game long enough to have this option, is you can use the custom method to use the color of the spot that you've created. So in this case, I can create spot after spot after spot. And this is particularly useful, especially when it comes to testing roses. I'm going to leave you with a little sneak peek at an upcoming video of mine, which will help you create some blue roses and green mums, and that will be a special episode titled Game of Thorns. So please give this video a thumbs up, and I hope to see you soon. Don't forget to comment. This is Alexa Giovanni. Until next time, see ya.